welcome to Assembly Audible. I'm your host, Derek Teal, Content Deployment Manager for BMP Media. In our last installment, we shared that Assembly Magazine just published the results of its 26th Annual Capital Equipment Spending Survey, and the forecast calls for growth. I'm joined again today by John Sprovieri, Chief Editor of Assembly, who's here to talk more about the survey and his predictions for some specific Assembly technologies. Thanks for joining me again, John.
Great to be back, Derek.
In our previous episode, we talked about who's buying equipment next year and how much they'll be spending on it. We didn't talk about what they were buying. So in terms of specific Assembly technologies, what stands out from this year's survey?
Sure. Well, the biggest story I'd have to say is robots. 37% of our readers expect to buy robots next year, which is a record high percentage. We expect sales of robots to increase 20% next year, growing from 500 million to 600 million next year. We expect demand to be particularly strong in medical, automotive, aerospace, and fabricated metal products. And the reason for that, if you recall from our previous discussion, there is an ongoing problem with labor right now in manufacturing, and manufacturers are looking to automate simple things, whatever they can, to free up what labor they do have at their facilities. So if they can get a robot to load and unload a machine, that's one person now that they can free to do what people do best. That's the big trend there. Another technology that I think we're going to see an uptick in sales is conveyors and material handling equipment. Again, 37% of our readers are going to buy conveyors next year, which is up from 33% in 2021, and it's the second highest percentage we've ever had in the history of our survey. Demand for conveyors is going to be particularly strong in the automotive and electronics sector. And there again, I think that plays into the growth in the EV segment, electric vehicles. Companies are ramping up assembly lines to make batteries, for example. So you're going to need conveyors to move those from station to station. And then finally, assemblers are looking to automate individual tasks like screw driving and pressing and riveting. So instead of doing a whole automated line, maybe just automate just one thing, and that way you're boosting the output of the one person. So 51% of our readers are going to buy single station assembly machines next year, and that's the most we've had in over a decade. We expect demand for this equipment to be highest in the electronics industry and the fabricated metal products industry. So the companies that, in the latter case, companies that make things like hinges and locks and things like that, bearings, things where you have to, pulleys, things that you have to, use presses and rivets on.
Industry 4.0 is the buzzword these days in manufacturing. Where do you see the market for manufacturing software?
Sure. Software is becoming every bit as important today in factories as robots and nut runners. For the fourth straight year, computers and software is the #1 item on everybody's shopping list. 59% of our readers are going to buy some sort of software product next year, whether it be a manufacturing execution system, enterprise resource planning, or CAD software, or some sort of information technology next year. And that's up from 52% this year. And when you think about it, you think about, all the companies are trying to manage their supply chains better. You think of all the supply chain disruptions we've had this year. They're training new employees. They're bringing, with the labor shortage, they're bringing new people in. So that means they've got to get these people up to speed. So that means work instruction software, error proofing technology. as I mentioned, they're trying to reduce warranty costs. So again, that goes to technology, information technology to reduce assembly errors. And then finally, they're trying to prevent downtime, right? I mentioned in our last discussion about trying to replace old equipment. What you want to do, one of the goals of Industry 4.0 is to try and prevent downtime. If you can predict when a machine is wearing out, and you can fix that machine before it breaks down, and now all of a sudden your line is not working anymore, that's a win. And so when you look at, like, when we asked our readers about specific factory of the future technologies, 57% are either currently employing or will soon employ real-time and remote monitoring software. Half are using tablet computers or smartphones on the assembly line. 33% are using industrial Internet of Things technology. 32% are using artificial intelligence and data analytics. And 22% are using smartwatches or smart glasses or other sort of wearable computers on their assembly line. So the future is definitely now, for sure.
That's quite the list of technologies. Are there any other technologies that stand out?
Yeah, I think two technologies that we expect to see significant increases next year are dispensing and curing technology and wire processing equipment. And I think there again that one of the factors influencing that growth is electric vehicles. When you're wiring up an electric vehicle, you're dealing with more wire and thicker wire, more specialized wire, and that's a reason to buy new equipment. On the dispensing end, you're dealing with more filled materials, potting compounds, heat transmissive adhesives, because you want to control the temperature of the batteries and the temperature of the motors to make those things work. So that's some of that, especially when you're talking about dealing with filled materials, some of that equipment is very specialized. So it's not, it's not something that, existing technology necessarily is going to be able to handle.
And with the ups, there are also downs. So are there any technologies for which you see a decrease in sales?
Yeah, I think we're going to see slight decreases in demand for welding equipment, workstations, and inspection equipment. And I don't really have a good explanation for that, really. We did get maybe a slightly lower response rate from assemblers of large equipment, large products, things that are over 6 feet long or 6 feet tall. So that could maybe explain less demand for welding equipment. But on the other hand, when you're dealing with some of these mixed material assemblies, joining aluminum to high strength steel or composites to high strength steel, you can't really weld that. So you need maybe that's a rivet, maybe that's an adhesive, maybe that's a new fastener. So that maybe we're seeing some impact there. Workstations, again, I'll go back to the labor shortage. Companies are automating more, and maybe there's just less demand for sort of manual workstation type equipment. So other than that, I don't have an explanation.
Well, I think you've broken down the survey quite well. So where can people go to learn more about it?
Sure. The survey, a detailed report on our survey will be posted on our website, assemblymag.com. And if you want to purchase the complete report, you can do that through our research affiliate, ClearSeas, and you can do that at clearseasresearch.com.
That's great. Thanks again for joining me, John.
Sure thing. Pleasure to be here.
And for more Assembly Audible and for other news, products, and features, remember to visit assemblymag.com.